Hello and welcome back to the Locker Room Podcast. I'm your host Oliver. I won't be joined by Sharpie this week. He's not up to it. I'm not feeling too well, so you just got me. We did have a guest planned, but it fell through. So you're gonna have to listen to my voice and my voice only. I'm gonna go a bit of a different route this week. As you know, I'm an OKC fan. So be talking about mostly just OKC stuff for all the fans out there of OKC. And let's get right into it. So obviously OKC is a young team and there's a lot of developing of the players that needs to go on. But I've built a bit of a ranking of who I thought should get the most time put into them, at least for the next season. I've broken them up into tiers and they're in some sort of order. When I read them out, I'll go through that once I get to it. But we'll start at tier one. The players I think that need the most development this upcoming season. Firstly is Pokuševski, Josh Giddey, and Lou Dort. Now, Poku's at the top of nearly everyone that goes for OKC's list, obviously, because he's 7 foot odd, lanky, similar build to KD. Not saying he's going to be KD, but his future is so, it can go two ways. It can go really well or it could go really bad. He showed glimpses last season after coming out of the G League. He showed a bit more consistency in his shot and he looked more confident with the ball in his hand. Now, I don't know what type of preseason diet the Thunder have got him on, but they've kept him pretty close under their watch during the offseason. So I'd like to see, I hope he's built up some more strength, but I think he's probably the most valuable player for OKC going into the future. And that's a lot being said, given that we've got SGA on our team. But I think Pokuševski, he'll either make a big step this year or he'll continue what he did last year and maybe not be consistent. I think he just needs to find that consistency. And if he does, his ceiling will be very high. One thing I would like to see is him play more time with SGA. I think last season, Poku only had 196 minutes played with SGA. That's not a lot over the course of an NBA season. I do get that he played in the G League a bit, but I'd like to see them two work together more. And I think OKC fans know, watching the end of last season, we saw him handle the ball more. So it'd be good to see him both be the pick person in a pick and roll and the ball handler. It would be good to see him do both. But that's why I've got him number one. 2, I've got Josh Giddey. I'm an Australian. I'm not just saying that because I'm not just saying that he should be up there because he's Australian, but I mean, he's pick number 6. He's got some sort of stuff to prove because he's our highest pick in the team right now. And when you go that high in a rebuilding team, you need to show up. And I think OKC are going to put a lot of time and effort into him. I think they're going to start him. I think they should start him. I don't think you can bench a 6th pick on a team that's in a process. This is the process. This is similar to what the Sixers did, where the Sixers picked the best player available. It didn't really work for them because they ended up with a lot of big men. I guess they did get several players like Simmons and that, but whereas OKC are not picking players that are the best players available, they're picking who they think will fit the system. And I think Giddey is a good fit for OKC's system, which is everyone can have the ball, everyone can run, everyone can dribble, everyone can pass. So I think he's a good fit for the system, but he will get a lot of time. And I think as the 6th pick, he's going to need the most time, most focus on developing this year. And 3rd is Lou Dort. He's got 2 years left on his contract, I'm pretty sure. And I don't see that OKC not offering him a contract. And I personally, I really hope he stays because he's a great player. But he needs to improve on his 3-point shot. There's no doubt in that. He's made steps to improving that 3-point shot. He's slightly gone up last year on his 3-point field goal percentage, and he can handle the ball as well. He's not as, he doesn't look as comfortable handling the ball, but he can handle the ball. And I think he just needs to maybe shot selection around the rim, because he can get to the ring, but sometimes he just needs to, he probably needs to get better at deciding when to pass out and when to actually go up with it, because he's a brute of a human and he probably thinks he can just go through everyone. But everyone knows how he's one of the better defenders in the league, perimeter defenders at least. I think it's important that they focus mostly on him developing his shot. But I think it's also important that we see him continually make strides to be better offensively, because we all know what he can offer defensively. And in saying that, hopefully OKC offer him another contract. So that's what I have for tier 1. The tier 2 for the rankings, I have SGA, JRE, Trey Mann, and Maladone. Now, SGA, you're probably thinking should be in tier 1. He probably should be, but he's already shown what he can be. He can be an all-star type of player. And obviously I want to see him develop to be more than that, or more than what he is now, but he's already on that path. And I think he's obviously going to get his minutes. He's going to start. He's going to be the star of this team, especially after signing that long-term deal. But I just think compared to those 3 that I previously mentioned, he hasn't got as far to travel with his career path. He's already on that road. He's already put up great numbers and proven that he can be a star. And that's the only reason why I've got him in the second tier. Not a knock against him, but he's already shown what he can do, and there's less for him to prove. But he still needs to improve on some areas. And I think this year he can become an all-star, and I hope he does for OKC's sake. But then again, OKC probably have to win more games than we probably will for him to be an all-star. So, yeah. The next one was JRE. Now, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, I've liked him in the summer league. He's looked really good. I'll give him my prediction for the starting 5 after this, but I've liked him. I've liked how he's played. I think he will be played as a center. He's probably going to get dominated by your big centers like Jokic and Embiid, but he's quick, he's mobile, he's strong, he's got a lot of weight behind him. I think with the lack of big men, we do have Derek Favors, we do have Mike Muscala, but with the lack of big men, I think he's going to get his minutes. It's just whether he starts or comes off the bench, but he's going to get 20 odd minutes at least, I would say. And with someone that can stretch the floor and he's strong, I like the look of him, and he can handle the ball. He can pass the ball. He's got good vision from what I've seen in the summer league. So I really like the look of him, and I think that he's one to focus on. Now, the next player I had was a bit iffy. I'm putting these two somewhat together as Trey Mann and Maladone. Now, I really like Maladone, and he's put a lot of weight, a lot of muscle on in the offseason, as you would have seen in summer league. But he still has his issues. He's not as quick. He can get to his shots. He can get to the rim with that added muscle now, but he's not quick like Trey Mann. Maladone has good vision. There was a couple of games where he had 5 turnovers maybe, but there was a game where he had 12 assists with 1 turnover. So he just needs that consistency. I think Maladone and Mann will be fighting for a similar spot. Maladone, I think, runs the second unit. Good good backup point guard. I think that's his ceiling. But Trey Mann can play probably point guard and shooting guard. But Maladone, I think he needs to be focused on because he needs to be able to run the second unit. And he's obviously not going to be a starter, I don't think. And I don't think either of these two are going to be a starter. But Maladone, I think his ceiling is a really good backup point guard on a not necessarily a contender, but like maybe a top team in the East or something like that. So I think he deserves to be focused on a fair bit. But Trey Mann, he didn't have a great summer league. He pulled out early for personal reasons, which is fair enough. But he showed that he can get to his shots. He's rapid. His scouting report was that he's really good at pull-up threes, one of the best in the this year's draft. So I think that with him, he'll probably spend a bit of time in the G League just to get the grip of the NBA and everything. But I think he can be very valuable. He can be played at the 1 or 2 for OKC next season. And he can be valuable off the bench, maybe even next to Maladone if he's willing to play shooting guard. It's just maybe it'll be interesting to see how the offense runs if them two are on the court at the same time. And I do think this will happen. Dagnall, I reckon he'll follow what Billy Donovan did and multiple times play a 3-guard lineup. I don't know how he won't play a 3-guard lineup with the players that we've got, with the lack of big men that we have. I think that it's inevitable that he's going to play a 3-man lineup. So that'll be something to look out for. The tier 3, I have Ty Jerome, Isaiah Roby, and Darius Baisley. Now, Ty Jerome, I really like. He's a good defender, pretty good defender. He's really tall for a point guard. He can shoot the three. He's probably one of our better pure shooters. Tier 3s, he needs focus, but and he's going to get his minutes, but he's not gonna start. Definitely won't start, but he'll be providing good minutes off the bench. But he's one of our better players, I think. Role player wise, he's improved. He showed me a lot last year, and I just think that they don't need to focus on him as much, but he's definitely important to what we're doing at OKC. Now, Roby, I put Roby in the tier below JRE, which is interesting because I think those two will be the ones probably contesting the most for center spot. Now, I like what JRE showed me in the summer league, but I do like what Roby showed me last year. Obviously, with the depleted team and with Al Horford missing the second half of the season, just resting him so we could get something out of a trade for him. I think that Isaiah Roby, he's a good player. He's I don't know exactly what I'd put his ceiling as. He can provide good minutes. Whether he'll start, I don't think he'll start with the players we have. He'll get 15 to 20 minutes off the bench. And I don't think there's going to be as much focus on developing him as a player, but I think there will be a bit of a competition between him and JRE, who gets the most minutes, whether it be off the bench or maybe starting if 1 or 2 players are out. So that's why I have him in tier 3. And I also have Darius Baisley out. Another high draft pick. I think it was pick 16 or pick 17 not long ago for OKC. He was a shoot for the skies type of player. I mean, he was athletic, he was tall, he was lanky, somewhat lanky, not as lanky as Poku, but he's shown that he's athletic. He hasn't been able to develop his shot. I think this is a big season for him, though. He needs to play well to get a good contract. I don't know if I'll see him, if he has another year like he did last year. I don't know if OKC would bring him back necessarily next year, or what type of deal they would offer him. I think he needs to show more defensively, needs to improve on his shot, to be honest. That shot's not very good, and like I said, he's athletic for a tall person, but I don't think that can get you anywhere. They can't do everything unless you're someone like Zion or you're someone that's just extremely athletic like Rose, but they all had different attributes to him as well, whereas Darius Bazley's just athletic and that's about it. Can get to the rim, but I need to see a big jump from him this year. So he won't start. He shouldn't start. I don't think he should start, but we'll see what happens. Tier 4, we're getting to the stage where we don't really need to focus on them. But first, I have Wiggins, Aaron Wiggins. He's impressed me in the G League. He's gonna go down to the. He's impressed me in the Summer League, but he's gonna go down to the G League. It's inevitable, but I think that he has a possibility for playing. Maybe he'll come up a few games, have a few stints in the senior team. But I like what I've seen. He obviously doesn't excel at one thing. You're not going to get someone that you get one of those good players that can just do something extremely well at pick 56. But he's got his shot. He can shoot the ball. He's probably the most athletic player we drafted. But I think he just needs to spend time in the G League. And the next player I have is Kenrich Williams. Now, Kenrich Williams, he's a floor raiser. I'm surprised OKC are keeping him. I really like Kenrich Williams, and I thought there would have been a bit of a market out there for him, especially by contenders, just his hustle. I think OKC made him a really good player after he came from the Pelicans, I think. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded for maybe an asset. There was rumors that teams were offering 2 second-round picks, and OKC turned it down. So he's definitely a floor raiser. But in terms of who we should be focusing on developing, I don't think he really needs to be considered much in the team, really, because, I mean, we're not going to build towards his future. He might not have a future at the team. He might be moving on soon. So I don't think that we need to exactly put that much time into him. I've left out a few players, but there's a section I have that I've classes I just don't really care about. It might be, this is the don't care area, but the first one is Derek Favors. I do like Derek Favors. I think he's a floor raiser for OKC. He's going to make us better. He might contribute to 1 or 2 or 3 maybe extra wins. Good player. Whether I see him on the team for the whole year, I don't know. He could possibly be traded. Maybe he'll build up some trade value. He might start, he might not, but I don't really care for his progression. I don't think that there's much importance around him on this team. Charlie Brown Jr., what can he do? What can he do? He can't shoot. He can't defend. He played terrible in the Summer League. I don't know why we still got a hold of him. He'll be in the G League. He won't come up to OKC. I'll be very surprised if he comes to the senior, gets into the senior team. And that's the same with Josh Hall. Josh Hall, I haven't had as much of a problem with him, but he doesn't excel in one area either. He's not very good. He's just okay in a couple of areas, and I think he'll just be in the G League team for most of the season, is what I would say. So I've left out Svi and a couple other players, but that's the rankings of who I think we should focus on development-wise. Let me know what you think, obviously. Now, the starting lineup I would have is, so I would start SGA, Lou Dort, Josh Giddey at the 3, Pokachevsky at the 4, and the 5 was, what I'd like to see is JRE start at center. But what I think will happen is Derek Favors will start at center, and I won't argue that. But for development wise, I'd like to see JRE start at the center. But I think that's the starting lineup. I would be surprised if it's very different. I mean, maybe they'll start Bazley over Giddy just because Giddy's a rookie and Giddy might be able to run the second unit instead of Maladone. Whether that happens, I don't know. Roby could start a power forward. I don't think Pokachevsky comes off the bench after all what they're going to put into him, all the time and effort. I can't see him coming off the bench, and I think that he has to start. And you can't really bring it with Giddy. You can't really have picks your sixth pick sitting on the bench. Sixth pick, sitting on the bench, running the second unit. Is more important than that. So that's the lineup I think will happen. Whether that does or not, we'll see when the season starts. We'll go to a few Twitter questions now. Hey crew, I'm irrationally rooting for Aaron Wiggins to stick with the Thunder because I'm from Maryland. What past Thunder player do you really wish stuck with the team, but not because of their skill? Thanks. I think, that's a hard one. Now, stick with the team, whether that's stayed with the team longer or got traded. Obviously, would have liked to see Steven Adams stay, not because he's necessarily good, but just because he's New Zealander, close to Australia. I really liked him. I love watching. I found it funny watching Hashim the Beat. I like watching him, but one player I did like, not necessarily because of his skill. I just enjoyed watching him play, and I guess it was some sort for his skill. Is Andre Roberson? I mean, he was an elite defender, and I value defense a lot higher than most would. So I think I'd probably have him up there. So yeah. If you could have any two former Thunder players sit down, have a chat, and release the video, who would it be and why? I mean, the obvious answer is probably KD and Westbrook, but you can't really just go to that one. I think maybe. I think KD and Andre Roberson. They after KD went to the Warriors, I remember them having a few instances where they got into it. That would be interesting to sit down. I think they're probably all chill now. I think Andre Roberson was on the Nets the past season, but for a couple of games. But I think before that, when KD was at the Warriors, I think if those two sat down, it would be pretty cool. And this is obviously just after KD and Draymond Green had their sit down. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I think. Why does it feel like they are building a team that's going to be another decade of early playoff exits, never seriously in contention? What team of just good players has ever won the title without at least one superstar? Well, I mean, we don't really know who. I mean, will SGA be a superstar in the future? Maybe not. He'll be a star. We don't know what Pokachevsky is going to be. He could be a star. He could be maybe not. It's early on in the process. I don't think that you can judge what we've got right now as a team that's going to be early playoff exits. As Presti said, he doesn't want to just be a part of the playoffs. He wants to he wants to make a big impact. He wants to arrive. He wants to not be a first round exit team, if you get what I'm saying. I mean, I don't agree with that. I just think that we've got to see what will happen with these young players that we have got, and then we've got all the assets in the world. Whether we draft a few players or not next year is still to be seen. But who knows? We might use those draft picks and package them and maybe get a star, not a superstar, because I don't know if a superstar would really want to come to OKC in such a small market. But yeah, I don't. I think that's what I would do. I got some other questions here. Would it make sense to keep Favors on ice and trade him in season when contenders have big guy injuries? Not at the start of the season. I think we play favors for a bit. He could possibly build up his value because he's going to get his numbers. I mean, he's going to probably get his rebounds. He's going to get some. He's good defensively. He's going to get his blocks. I think playing on OKC, his value will rise. Hopefully, if they play him, I think they should play him. But that's what I think. Say Philly calls and offers Simmons for Bays, Jerome, Dort, and 4 firsts. What's your counter? I don't know if I'd offer a counter for that, to be honest. Obviously, I'm Australian and I'd like to have Ben Simmons on the team. But reports coming out that he doesn't want to go to places like Portland and Toronto. I don't think he'll want to come to OKC. And if he got traded to OKC, would he? How willing would he be to play? Yeah, obviously, I'd like to see him, but with that mindset, I don't know if OKC would want to go after Simmons. But if I was to offer something, I would offer Baisley. Well, they needed a guard, so I thought maybe Kemba could have been included in the deal. But whether it be maybe Baisley, Maladone, Kenrich William, and 4 firsts, I don't think that would necessarily get them, but that's what probably I would be willing to offer for Simmons. Maybe another first round pick here and there. But yeah, I don't see that really happening. Any chance this team shows enough promise we abandon tanking this year? I mean, last year, what happened? We were going too well halfway through the season, and then they sat Al Horford. So, and then the SGA got injured, and George Hill got rested, and I think we will be better than what maybe most people think. I think we'll get our fair share. I think we'll be in the 20 to 25 win range. I think a fair few people are expecting OKC to win less than 20 games. But I think we won't be necessarily tanking, but we will still be a bottom 6 team, a bottom 5 team. I'll say the Pistons, the Magic, the Cavs, all being worse. And then we'll probably be the worst team in the West. I'm thinking off the top of my head, Minnesota are usually bad, but Sacramento are usually bad. But I think we'll be guaranteed in that bottom 5. So I don't think we'll be tanking, but whether SGA does get rested at some stages would be interesting to see. How giddy does Josh make you? Yeah. Well, you heard my reaction when he was drafted, so very, very giddy. Who are our top 5 players in terms of dunks per game? I mean, that's hard. It's just, we're not going to have a great deal of dunkers. I mean, you're going to have Derek Favors, who's going to be under the rim. JRE, Baisley can get to the rim. Obviously, Dort can get to the rim. We're just not really a team of dunkers. We shoot a lot of 3 balls, to be honest. But that's, yeah, I don't really, we're not a team of dunkers, so I don't think that's really important. We'll go to the last one here. Who do you predict as a 3rd best player in the Thunder for the upcoming season? Oh, wow. 3rd best. Ooh, that's interesting because you got SGA number 1. Now, 2nd, I'd probably have to say is Lou Dort. Currently, at least, unless I'm forgetting someone. No. 3rd, I mean, it has to be. We haven't seen enough of Giddey as much as I want it to be Giddey. He got injured in summer league, which sucked. But since we haven't seen Giddy, I think it's going to be Pokachevsky. He's going to get the ball in his hands the most. Other than probably SGA, I think he'll probably get the ball more than Dort, but Dort's just elite defensively. So I think that's probably the order I would go in, but I wouldn't be surprised halfway through the year if things change, if maybe Giddy's a third pick, or maybe even Pokachevsky goes up to 2 and Dort falls to 3. It'd be interesting to see, but that's what I have at this stage. So that's it for the Twitter. Oh, no, sorry. We've got one more. Who was the better player in their era, Kobe or Duncan? Oh, that's a hard one. I mean, there were two different players, both left a big, large legacy, single team players. I think Kobe being compared to Jordan, I mean, Kobe was just unreal, wasn't he? I mean, obviously Tim Duncan was a great player, but he had such a boring play style. It was enjoyable to watch at times, but he was just so slow, meticulous. Personally, I'd say Kobe. Yes, he did play with Shaq, but he did play with Pau Gasol as his second star. I guess Tim Duncan didn't really have. He did have a super team at one stage, but I think you can't go wrong really with either pick. But personally, I'd go Kobe because as much as I hated watching him because he would tear us up, I would say Kobe, but you can't go wrong with that one. I think both are brilliant and obviously first ballot Hall of Famers. So yeah. Well, that's it for the Twitter questions for sure now. And it's that time of the week. Slugs. Horsey. All right. So this week for Slugs Horsey tips, he hasn't had a great run recently. I think he got one on the weekend. So it wasn't terrible. But this week he's got race 6, number 4 at Moonee Valley. Halal. I'm going to go with that. He always chooses hard ones for me. And the last one's even worse. So we'll see how that goes. Race 2, number 8 at Moonee Valley, Sugartown. And he's each way of the day. Race 9, number 6 at Randwick. Now, I'm going to struggle with this one. Matto Watakpi. I think it's as close as I'm going to get it. So hopefully you can bounce back on this one. And we'll move on to the AFL, the final week of the AFL. Obviously, not too happy because Richmond are probably not going to make it after their abysmal showing last week against GWS, but we'll run through it quickly anyway. I don't see there really being any changes to the top 8 as of now. I don't know how I feel about GWS being in there, but I do like the thought of Essendon being in there. I do enjoy watching Essendon, so hopefully they can stick it out this week and get in there. But obviously there's been a lot of retirements, but we won't cover that because there's a lot of retirements and a lot of players. Obviously, we'll do it as it comes along. So tonight, Bulldogs versus Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium. I've got to take the doggies. Don't really like Port away from home. Richmond Hawthorn tomorrow. So Burgoyne's last game, Asprey's last game, and Hooley's already retired, and Clarko's last game. So it'll be interesting to see. It's at the G. I think Richmond, for the slight chances they have of making the finals, actually, I don't know if they do have any chance, but I think Richmond come out on top here. Swans Gold Coast. I think the Swans win that pretty easily. Stewie Doo's probably going to sadly get fired at the end of this season. Next game at the Gabba, West Coast versus Brisbane. West Coast's been playing shocking lately, so I'm going to go Brisbane. Now, Melbourne versus Geelong at GMHBA. Melbourne have put in a full team. I think as a result of that, I'm going to go with Melbourne. Tom Stewart being down is a big out, so I think Melbourne win it and get the minor premiership sealed up. So next is Carlton GWS. GWS Carlton are just shocking. Let's not talk. Eddie Betts is the last game though, so it's what a great career he's had. Sadly, against a lot of good games against Richmond, but move on. St Kilda versus Freo at Bloodstone Arena by the looks of it. I'm gonna go with St Kilda. I can't see them losing to Freo, even though Freo have been playing pretty well lately. Essendon and Collingwood, big rivalry. Hopefully Essendon. I'm going to back Essendon, but I'm going to say hopefully. And last game of the week, Adelaide versus North Melbourne. Shout out to Lockie, who was going to come on today if he gets to this stage of the podcast. But North Melbourne should win. They've been playing great footy the second half of this season, especially. So I like North Melbourne. I think they'll win. Well, that's going to be it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed my voice. It's probably a little less entertaining, but I hope the OKC fans got a bit out of it. And I'll be looking to answer more questions next week, and hopefully Sharpie will get better. And I think we'll have a special guest on next week. So I look forward to that. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.